So you have your wedged piece of clay. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to take off a piece that's going to be about the size of a tennis ball to a baseball. Okay, I want you to put the rest of that clay back in your good clay bag. And then I want you to make this into a ball. And we're going to start out with a ball because when you are making these initial pieces, I want them to be like a lower rounded, basically half a ball, a hemisphere of clay. And to start out with the ball is the proper way to get to that. So you're going to, I usually look for any little crease or imperfection in the clay because there's always going to be one little spot, right? Mm-hmm. You play with a very small tennis ball. That's interesting. My tennis balls are a little bit bigger, I think. So I find that little spot, and that's where I'm going to stick my thumb in. Okay, so I'm going to push my thumb in there until it feels like I'm about a half an inch or a thumb width from coming out the other side. No, get it off the table, in your hands. Yeah, you're not going to put this down on the table yet. Okay, so you're going to push that in, push your thumb in, so you think you're about a half inch from coming out the other side. And then, you know, it's called a pinch pot for a reason. It's not just a catchy name. Okay, it's because you're actually pinching. So you're using your thumb on the inside, and I usually use 3 fingers on the outside, sometimes 4. And I'm going to start at this point, and I'm going to work my way around, okay, and down to the lip of the pot, the mouth of the pot. So I start at the bottom, and I'm pinching. So I'm pinching like this, all right? And I'm rotating the piece. I'm keeping this in my hand. And I'm slowly going from this point to the lip of the pot, the mouth of the pot. I'm trying not to expand the mouth here, okay? That's the last part that gets expanded. I like to keep that in check. Otherwise, it gets really, really wide sometimes. So I'm just going to do that from the bottom of the pot to the top of the pot. I'm keeping this in my hand, and I'm rotating it the whole time. I'm keeping it in my hand so I don't get any flat spots on the piece. Okay, you can decide at a later point to put a flat spot on a piece, but if you do it now, that design decision is made for you, and you're kind of compensating and getting around that weird flat spot that's on it. It's usually at the bottom of a curved piece. All right, so this is, and I just go, I go bottom to top. This is going to give you a pretty thick piece. All right, so we want to then decide how thin do we need this to be. And that's really up to you. Okay, if you're going to do something that's heavily carved, leave it a little bit thicker. If you're going to do something that you want somebody to think is fragile or delicate, you're going to want to pinch that thinner. So then I want this thinner, so I'm going to go back down to the bottom again, and I'm going to just do the same thing. And this second pass, I'm really looking for places where it's thicker and where it's thinner. Okay, so I'm really feeling, and I'm trying to feel where I need to apply more pressure or I need to ignore that spot and apply less pressure. And again, I come all the way out and down to the lip. And then I can start to expand that mouth a little bit. Okay, it does just naturally get larger up there. And what I'm looking for from you, if you leave it thinner or if you leave it thicker, I just want it to be consistent. Okay, so the wall needs to be consistent throughout. And the way you tell, like, is it too heavy? You're just gonna feel it. If it feels bottom heavy, guess what? There's too much clay in the bottom. If there's too much clay in the bottom, you can't get your thumb all the way down there anymore. You take the pot in your hand, like that, and you use your palm as you would have your fingers on the outside, and you use your fingers to push against your palm. And that is going to expand that little bit of area that you can't get your thumb down to. And again, I'm turning. And then when I get to a certain point where I can get my thumb in there, I'm going to do that. And you get to a point where there's like, it feels like it's the right weight for the size that it is. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So you're going to get to that point, and that's really when the pot's done. Like you can take it right now, you know, the wall, it's a nice curve, and it comes up and it's pretty vertical. You know, if you want to, you can start to take, after you do a couple of these, you can start to take some liberties with that and expand that outward. And that creates a cup that is more open, it's more giving, it's more something you want to take from or drink from, as opposed to if you have a lip that comes inward like that, okay, that's going to be more protective, more enclosed. Okay, so there's a lot of psychology that goes into interpretation after these pieces are done that you set up while you're making the pieces. And it's the same thing with thick and thin, you know, strong and weak are how they're usually perceived. But for now, I want you to focus on making like 5 of these today. And we're going to, you saw everybody has back there. Okay, so that is my pinch pot demo.